Welcome to Channel Edge, the podcast where channel leaders share success strategies, best practices, and emerging trends. Brought to you by 360 Insights, the channel success platform.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Channel Edge, 360 Insights View Everything channel. I'm your host, Stephen Kellum. I want to thank you for joining us today. And we're really going to talk about branding and how important it is to connect with the customer. And there's a lot of debate out there about brands, how really well they are connected. And I think there's a pretty big disconnect, right? Because a lot of brands will tell you, I think McKinsey put some great numbers together, saying that 90% of the brands felt like they were extremely well connected with their consumers. And the consumers said 90% of the time, they don't feel really well connected. So there's a big disconnect there. And joining us to talk about that is probably one of the coolest brand guys out there. His name is Johnny Earl, AKA Johnny Cupcakes. So Johnny, welcome.
Thank you.
And for those of you who don't know the Johnny Cupcakes brand yet, at some point you absolutely will. Johnny specializes in creating blueprints for building brand loyalty, creating memorable experiences, inspiring innovations. And, Johnny, I think I could have said that out of my heart versus actually reading that out of the script.
All right.
After listening to you so many times talk about it. But for those who don't know Johnny, I'll give you a quick little info here. Johnny founded Johnny Cupcakes, which has grown what he would call from a joke to really a multi-million-dollar business, high-end exclusive T-shirt brand driven by community, worldwide collectors. Johnny shares his story often, how he took his T-shirt brand from the trunk of his rusty car at age 19 to one of the world's most sought-after locations. Retail locations. And Johnny, I think the coolest thing that I saw in all of your bio is I love that you were named America's #1 young entrepreneur by Business Week. And that alone got me thinking, how can your brand excellence, your brand invigoration tie into what we really see inside of the channel? So anyways, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for the intro. I am a very different type of business than what you do and what your listeners might be listening to. And as odd as it is, who's this Johnny Cupcakes guy? I find when I go to conferences that when companies bring somebody from out of left fields, that's when you get to pick up these little kernels that you might be able to use in your personal, professional life, versus, bringing someone on that's kind of already done it. So you can get a little bit from everybody, and I guess I'm the black sheep of business, or the class clown, and I think the one thing that the one superpower that I have is I just don't worry about failing too much. So I try a lot of new things, and I love connecting with our customers. So, when people are camping out in front of my T-shirt shop to buy limited edition shirts, I'll sneak out the night before and, wear a mask and scare everybody. Or my mom and my sister and I will bring, lunches to everybody that's waiting in line and thank them, one by one. And it's those little details, those little touch points with your clients, your customers, whether it's B2B or B2C or B2B2C.
Still two B's and B2B2C, right?
Yes. And what I like to always say is, at the end of the day, it's H to H. It's human to human. Everybody has a heartbeat. Everybody has curiosity. Everybody has a soul. How can we learn from our clients, and how can they learn from us, so that we're not just transactions? Because that allows us to leave a better impression, leave a more memorable impression. And then when we're trying to come up with a unique gift or way to approach a client, we don't just have to send a generic fruit basket or engraved pen. We could say, oh my God, Larry, he's my top sales guy. I know that he loves Led Zeppelin. I'm going to go buy a vintage shirt on eBay for a couple $100. Larry might value that more than, a $5,000 bonus, because he knows that you remembered something about him. And that is far more valuable than just doing a run-of-the-mill thank you that every company does when they're doing incentives.
And look, I think if you talk to everybody from Serious Decisions, Forrester, the pundits that are out there, especially in today's time, we could use some innovation. We can use some disruption. We could use some different ideas. So before maybe even talk about how that would apply what you've done over to, say, what we have in the channel, maybe you could give a little history of actually how you started your business and a little bit about that. And I think that may give some people some a good focus point.
So I've always been passionate about putting puzzles together, and I never studied business or design or marketing, but I love that journey of trying to figure something out. And through that, I started 16 businesses before I was 16, and that doesn't mean they all succeeded. They were, selling candy in school while my friends sold mushrooms and marijuana, selling, being a prankster, selling whoopee cushions, doing magic tricks at birthday parties, shoveling snow in the winter, selling drinks on Nantasket Beach during the summer out of my wagon. One thing led to another, and when I was 18, 19 years old, I was working at a record shop called Newbury Comics. And every day when I went to work, I had these funny nicknames, Johnny Come Lately if I was late for work, Johnny Appleseed, Johnny Cupcakes. And I thought Johnny Cupcakes sounded funny. It was kind of like a cute mobster nickname. And while I was getting T-shirts made for the hardcore metal band that I used to be in, I thought it would be funny to make a few T-shirts that said Johnny Cupcakes on them to advertise a bakery that didn't even exist. Sort of as a social experiment. I wore it to work, and all these slightly miserable customers that never made eye contact with me started smiling and laughing. And what's Johnny Cupcakes? And where can I get one of those T-shirts? My friend's a baker. My cousin's name's Johnny. And the word of mouth kept spreading. And before I knew it, I was making more T-shirts and selling them out of my car. And anytime I'd sell 12 shirts, I'd take that money, make 24 T-shirts. And at one point I had to make a big decision, leave the band, put 100% focus into these T-shirts. And I went from, the trunk of my car to the attic at my parents' house. While my friends were hanging out with cute girls at parties, I was hanging out with cute old ladies at craft fairs. And I learned the more I put in, the more I get back. But what really changed was when I started opening my own retail stores and pop-up experiences. And I would display our graphic T-shirts inside of a bakery setting. So you walk into a Johnny Cupcake store, it smells like frosting. The culinary inspired T-shirt designs are inside of industrial refrigerators. And when you check out, we package your shirts up in food containers. So you get this Willy Wonka-like experience, and it makes you have all these stories to share. So for the past 20 years, I've spent little to no money on traditional marketing, traditional advertising, and instead, and it's a lot of times it's because I just didn't have the money because we were just starting up. I didn't have backing. We're still a mom and pop brand, and a few mistakes could really hurt our cash flow. But when that happens, we come up with our best ideas because you have to figure it out. But anyways, I would put a lot of that marketing effort into these weird experiences, from the customer service to packaging to the unique shopping environment to the special events. And by doing that, our customers do the marketing for us. Like, hey, I got this T-shirt and it came in a food container and the store smelled like frosting. But then there's the people who absolutely hate us that give us terrible reviews because they don't think it's funny because they were hungry and they paid for parking and they went into this bakery called Johnny Cupcakes, and they walk inside and there's no food. It's just cupcakes on T-shirts, and they're not in the mood. And it wasn't until I got married that I learned that you don't mess with a hungry person. And we do sell real cupcakes on April Fool's Day, and we hide our T-shirts. And sometimes I might open a store across the street called Johnny's T-Shirts that only sells cupcakes. But yeah, in a nutshell, in a cupcake wrapper, that is the brand. Over time, people have gotten my brand's logo tattooed on themselves. Some people have camped out up to 2 weeks for these T-shirts. And for them, they've been inspired to be an entrepreneur or to live a healthier lifestyle, or they met their best friend or significant other through the T-shirt brand. So anytime you have that chance to build a community around your brand, and through special events, through virtual events, it really solidifies a sense of loyalty and commitment from the people that are in your network.
And you talked a lot about the creative side. To me, as I've watched your videos or I've seen you speak, it's the genuineness of wanting to connect to the customer. I think those can be two very different things. And I'm curious, is there one that needs to come first? Because you can be creative, but if it's not real and there isn't a genuine desire, I think it falls short. And if you have the desire, but can't execute on something creative to get some attention, then you kind of fall short. So is there a third ingredient there? Or is that just two ingredients? Or
I think there is a third ingredient. I know where I fall short. And most of my career, I've been more of a creative than a business person. I don't write handwritten notes on my customers' packages, or, if I hear through social media, someone's in the hospitals, send something to them. That's not a marketing plan or idea. That's just, the way that my parents raised me, or that my mom raised me, to thank the people that support you. But it's hurt me a lot of times because I'm not looking at my profit and loss as much as most people. And I'm way more trusting, and I'm hiring people based on intuition, and I want to give my friends an opportunity. And, years later, that mixed with no skill in, no studying management, it could really hurt. So, again, it wasn't until I met my wife, who's an auditor, until someone started asking me these tough questions. Who is that person, and why do you pay them that much, and what do they really do, and are you sure they're doing that, and how do you hold them accountable? And it took a little while, but it hit me. And there was a point where I had to lay off, more than half of my office, because I started paying payroll with my personal savings, because I kept holding on to hope. And, we have a collaboration this year, and I'm just a big softie. I am more of a creative than a business person. I have great business ideas, but sometimes my ideas are bigger than the team and the resources that I have on hand. So it's been a while. It's been a journey, but I feel like the past 3-4 years, I've never felt more comfortable and confident in both sectors. So to answer your question, there could be a third ingredient, and it could be somebody on your team that plays devil's advocate. It could be somebody that calls you out and makes sure that what you're doing is genuine, but also makes business sense too. But everybody has a story. Every company has a story. Every person or team behind a company have their own stories. So I think if you're at a loss for words right now, and you're trying to figure out what can I do in my marketing, what can we put online, what can we do to show people that we're not like every other company. The story says everything. When I do my talks, my speaking engagements, and on my website, I'm showing my bad haircuts when I was 9 years old that my mom gave me with kitchen scissors, and I'm sharing my first concerts like TLC, Boys to Men, and Montel Jordan. And the more that I let people know that I'm a human too, it builds value and context to my service and to my products, because now it's not just a T-shirt, and they know a little about the brand, and people want that now. People have so many options. You really want the question to haunt you: is why is a complete stranger going to choose me over somebody else? And you just share your story. Have your team share their stories. You could still have a serious service and do everything you've traditionally done. If you don't want to get too zany and too creative, sharing a story is not that hard to do. It's not that much. And you could start on Instagram or on YouTube, just little snippets once a week, little updates. It definitely does go a long way.
And you've had to reinvent yourself a little bit too, right? With everything that's been on lockdown with COVID. Maybe you can share a little bit about that, because the whole world is going from having events, a lot of that personal interaction, to having to create that from a digital perspective.
Yeah. Geez, when this whole pandemic happened, I was very nervous. I don't usually get nervous, and I think I feared that I would have to have a difficult conversation with my employees who've been with me for so long. And again, that's the non-business person in me that is just, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. And sometimes I choose that more than making the right financial decision. So I did have to have a talk with everybody. I said, listen, guys, I don't know if a T-shirt is going to be a priority for people. People are losing their jobs. Why are they going to buy these T-shirts? We can't open our store. Are people really going to shop online? I don't know what's going to happen. And then a day or two later, I basically had to talk to everyone again and say, hey, listen, I need all of you. This is incredible. I can't believe we're doing this well. So I made a couple tweaks with the business. I quickly transitioned to a pre-order business model, not for every T-shirt design, but for a lot of them, which means we still have that limited edition factor that drives people to purchase something right away before it sells out. But it's limited timed. It's a week. So they have a week to do that, which means instead of us just ordering 100 T-shirts, 200 T-shirts, 300 T-shirts, and once they sell out, that's it. We're getting those orders in before we even pay for the products and order the products, which allows us to take a very calculated risk. By doing that, we got more orders than we would have originally had. And during the pandemic, these months compared to last year's months, we've doubled our sales, and in some months we've tripled our sales. It is due to our team and being organized and staying on the ball, but it's also switching to a pre-order model, still keeping things personal, sharing stories, being transparent on social media. I'm not always selling things. I try to mix it half and half with behind the scenes with the brand or with my personal life. And it just, again, adds value and context to everything that we're doing. So thankfully, everything's going good. I did travel quite a bit, doing speaking engagements at conferences. And I told myself, my wife and I brought home our twin daughters. We adopted our twin girls from South Korea, and we brought them home on Christmas Day. And I had told myself, before we started this process, when I'm a dad, I really don't want to miss a thing. And I don't know that I'm going to be able to leave. So I started making rules and telling some of my clients that I'll only accept speaking engagements if it's in a location that will get me out of Boston and back home so I could tuck my daughters in. And then at some point I said, maybe I should just keep it a little bit closer to Boston, at least for the first few years, while we're creating that bond with our children. So, these virtual speaking engagements at first sounded like it would be super lame. Who's going to want to do that? As a speaker, it looks easy because, I'm in my sweatpants and I can throw on a nice shirt on top and be at home. But I've got construction going on in my neighbor's yard. I've got, kids running around upstairs. I have, I can't see a lot of the attendees. So I have to, it's a lot of different dynamic, but, have figured it out and have felt good about it and have gotten some great feedback on LinkedIn. And one thing that's really helped pivot during all this is we started offering to design special edition T-shirts for organizations and virtual events where we handle the designing, the printing, the production, the planning, and we even do all of the fulfillment, which takes a lot off of someone's hands who's planning an event or looking to boost morale at their work. So our team, when they're not busy, which is luckily not been the case, we've had to get some extra help. We will drop ship shirts and special notes to employees that are working at home from other organizations. So those are the two things for the, I guess the silver lining of this pandemic is I get to be at home with my family. A graphic T-shirt has become the universal uniform for everybody that's on their Zoom calls, their Skype calls. And yeah, it's all good.
You did a presentation at Forrester fairly recently, and they had moved from a very big 4,000 person in-person event to a virtual. And it was one of the first ones that had to move back in the springtime. And I know you did a presentation. Not only did it go over really well, but that even got you really plugged in with the Forrester team and working with them and talking about how they could start thinking about things from a creative perspective, how they could offer more value to their clients.
Yeah. They've been great to work with. Before the event, I don't know if they were, I'll have to look back, but I don't think they were going to do the custom shirts. And then after the event, with the feedback and everybody talking about it, they ended up ordering a small batch of limited shirts. So, it's interesting. Your team, my team, other companies, even ad agencies, marketing agencies, all different types of companies, part of their job is to convince people internally and to also convince their clients that they need to try a few new things to be creative, to stand out. And a lot of times they'll send them out to conferences and events to get that inspiration. But when they come back, there's still so much red tape that doesn't allow room for veering off of the plan that has continuously been the same plan over the past X amount of years for some of these companies. So, it is definitely tough when you work with a company or you're invited to give advice and ideas, but the person in charge of the event doesn't want their employees to come up with too many good ideas. So sometimes you get in this funny place and you have to really understand where that bottleneck is and how you can gently shift away from old ways and just trying something new. Again, like something as weird as posting bad haircuts or having you can even do something as simple as having a playlist that you post online of all the employees' favorite songs that month, that week, or a recipe book that you release around the holidays. These are gifts that your clients and your customers don't always see. It's usually a generic card that's printed out that doesn't even have a real signature on it. So when they get something like that, yeah, they'll give you 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes of their time to potentially do more business with you. But if we keep abusing CRM software, which unfortunately more than half the people that use it are spamming everybody, and it's really making it difficult for everybody to even send an email without it being flagged for spam by some of Google's presets or with it just looking tacky. And then we have that difficult time now where we can't go meet people in person and shake their hands. So it really comes down to being clever and those personal touches, again, through handwritten notes, through listening to what your clients actually like in life, whether it be Led Zeppelin, whether they have a Labrador, whether they have a new kid on the way and you sent them a onesie and they remember that because no one else did that. So I know there's this one restaurant that me and my wife would go to a lot, and they always remembered, I don't drink alcohol, so they just always brought me out this elaborate mocktail that made me not feel like a little kid drinking a Shirley Temple. And then they knew that I loved this donut that they have during brunch. And when I went there for my birthday at night, when they don't serve these donuts, they made like 15, 16 tiny versions of that donut and wrote my name on the plate. So they're definitely using some software, or they have an incredible staff that is taking notes on who their top customers are and what those little details are that they learned about them, so that when you come in again or talk to them again, you can make them feel at home, which right now is a difficult thing to do when you're not in person.
Everything you talk about is very personalized. And I think that's where some people have a hard time connecting that way. But I do think that's the best way to build influencers and people that want to talk about your product. I got to share, I was talking to somebody the other day, And I said, hey, I'm going to be doing this podcast with Johnny Cupcakes. And we were doing a Zoom call, and her husband comes around the corner and jumps up and down all excited because he had a Johnny Cupcakes T-shirt on.
Oh, that is cool.
It was really, really cool. And look, he just wanted to share. He's like, hey, I've got one of those. And it was just one of those sort of influencer things. And it made me think, hey, this is actually pretty cool, right? Because you're watching someone who isn't looking for a reward, who isn't looking for anything except for just wants to share something that they believe in and think is really cool. I think a lot of people miss out on what influence can really do for them if they can build that really personalized, strong connection.
Yeah, no, I agree. When you do those fun, bizarre, unique, personalized things with your customers, your clients, they too might be that person jumping around in the background for someone else if they hear your name, if you did something that was not a run-of-the-mill idea, like a generic Christmas card with a fake signature on it. But yeah, I love that. I love seeing that. I've met people who have met their best friends or significant others through the brand. And I joke around and I say, I should start a company called T-Harmony where people meet through the art of T-shirts. But yeah, that's cool. I'm glad you experienced that because, we're a small brand that packs a punch. We don't sell to large stores. We don't have investors. I don't want to be a big brand. I have been a bigger brand before. I have had 5 stores. I had a store in London and Los Angeles. And, there was a part of my life where I got to a point where this thing that I built for freedom, my business, felt like I built a prison around myself. And I didn't feel happy going to the office. And I had to really worry about chasing money instead of chasing fun ideas. And it got to a point where we grew a little too much internally before we grew, our sales. And yeah, I don't want that. I love how we can adapt now. We used to have these meetings every week and they had the best of intentions, but they never went anywhere. And, I don't know. You learn new things every year, every month. And, and I'm glad I did those things that I did, but now I'm at a great point. And I think with the balance of family too, it definitely works out.
You mentioned the word fun a lot. So to me, it's interesting. There's fun. And then are you advocating people do things fun, but then there's also some things that border on maybe not as tasteful as could be. And the reason I bring that up is I'll use video as an example. Everybody's like, oh, just throw video out there and go have fun with it. And I've seen some that are really done well, but I've also seen some videos that maybe you should show that to your kids before you put that out there, right? On is it tasteless? And so do you have to think about that? Is every fun idea you out there go through any sort of filter? Do you just throw it out there? Or do you actually think, all right, I've got to look at the taste meter on this, right? And how do because everything does affect your brand, right?
Yeah, everything does affect the brand. I've definitely made some big mistakes. Some things that have worked out well is around Halloween, we have released Halloween themed T-shirts with fake movie titles like Count Spatula and Rise of the Two-Headed Zombie Chef. And we went as far as making movie trailers that we put on YouTube that looked so legit it confused our customers into thinking if a real movie was coming out or not. But we did it to build hype and excitement for the T-shirt release. We released the scary shirts at nighttime, so you had to go out in the dark to buy a scary shirt. We showed movies in the windows. We rented a popcorn machine, employees dressed up like zombies. I went as far as renting out a real hearse and a real coffin from a creepy guy on Craigslist for $220. And I got personally delivered in an actual coffin and an actual hearse, which if anybody listening has ever done that before, it is very dark and scary and quiet in there. And, so I wasn't sure if I was taking that a little too far, but it went over well. Channel 7 News ended up showing up and did a segment on the brand. And we, that $220 got me, probably over $100,000 in free marketing because we did something so bizarre that a news station had to go out there. we even packaged the movie theme shirts and VHS tapes. So you got a collectible to open up and save when you got your movie shirt. But some things that didn't go over well. I was at my Los Angeles shop when it was open. I had it there for 8 years in West Hollywood on Melrose Ave. And when I was there, I told myself, I'm going to do some more videos from YouTube. And I bought a new camera. And I was like, okay, I get this idea. I'm going to stage something that looks real. And these guys are going to come into my shop being upset that there's no food, which happens a lot, except they're going to take it to another level and try to start a fight with us. So I called up a stunt coordinator, customer of mine who works on, a lot of blockbuster movies. Super cool guy, Garrett Warren. He's got an eye patch, which you'll have to look up that story another time, but it does not have to do with stunts. And he sent some guys over. He gave me an address to a place in Los Angeles that makes all different props out of fake glass that shatters, that's made out of candy. And we staged this fight in one take. It's still on my YouTube channel. If you just look up Johnny Cupcakes Huge Fight LA, and it was great. And what I failed at is I did not tell my mom that I was going to be doing this. So when my mom saw the video before I got to talk to her, she was very worried, and that shattered my heart, and I should have known better. So that's, I guess, an example of maybe I should wait. And that happens a lot. I get too excited about something, and let's try this thing. Let's just do it tonight. Let's just release this thing. And a lot of times it's better to just sleep on it, for sure.
You do something else. It's maybe not on the crazy side. I think it's on the really cool side. Giving back is a big part of what you think about, how you want to connect with your customers. And it's coming across as very legit. Can you tell us a little bit about that side of it and how that piece of your business really connection with your customers works?
We've always worked with charities and different organizations. I mean, we do stuff almost every week. We're shipping out shirts for silent auctions to help raise money for various organizations that we believe in. But for a long time, we just haven't posted about it as much because I don't want to be like, hey, look at this thing that we're doing. We just do these things. But on the other hand, it is good to sometimes showcase that stuff because it could inspire other people to do that as well. This past year with the fires in Australia, we brought our customers together and we had our Australian customers vote on 3 organizations in Australia that help wildlife and that help with the fires. And we raised over 100,000 Australian dollars that we donated to those 3 different charities that our customers voted on. We came out with a T-shirt within 24 hours of the not so good fires that were happening over there. It had a kangaroo on it, and I think it said Australia Strong. And yeah, we sold a lot of those shirts. It was featured on the news, and we were able to raise some money for some really good foundations. And then lately, I just I've had a Black customer of mine who was wrongfully murdered by police. It's been on the news. They've apologized for it, but he hasn't really gotten justice. And we've worked with his family for a while, but it wasn't until I watched that George Floyd video. I've never seen anybody be murdered before, and I've never seen someone be murdered in such an unjust way, in such a slow way, and watching someone call out for their mother while they were dying. And it was the most disturbing thing I've ever seen. And I, even though I feel like I've always been on the right side of history, something woke me up when I saw that. And I cannot go a day without reposting something that helps. And we came out with the Black Lives Matter T-shirts, and we raised over $50,000 that we donated, split up between 3 different organizations. And we're still selling it and raising some money that we're doing as well. And I've definitely had some racist people make up fake profiles and harass me in between me potty training my daughters. I'm, blocking these people. And part of me wants to be angry. Another part of me just feels very bad that you can always find a correlation. Just some people have grown up in a small town. Like I grew up in a very small white town that was surrounded by white towns. And I'm very lucky that I went to a charter school and had friends from all different walks of life. And I'm lucky that I had the parents that I have. And most of the shirts that we release are inspired from music and movies and Black pop culture. And it's definitely been a troubling year, but a year that a lot of young people have been vocal and been involved. And I remember I have this guy who cut my hair when I could afford to get haircuts, not for my mom. He would tell me that the first thing they teach you in hairdressing school is when you start a business, is to not talk about politics and to not talk about religion. And I thought that was a good advice for a few years. And then as I grew up, I was like, man, it must be a sad life to die without a spine, without speaking up for other people. And when you see things that are so terrible and you say nothing because you want to make an extra couple $1,000 and you think that's worth it more than speaking up for your own customers, your own clients. Anyhow, getting all worked up over here, but yeah, it's
no. Look, social what do they say on podcasts? Don't talk about religion or politics, but we're going down to at least the politics side and the culture. I mean, social consciousness is not an easy thing, right? It doesn't mean that there isn't things you give up, and it's easy for me to say sitting here saying this, but I think that is a challenge people have to face. I think there's a lot of reward. I don't know. Let me ask you: is there more reward for this today? Is in the end the businesses who really do express social conscious? Is it going to win in the end?
I posted something a few weeks back or a month back. I said, if you support somebody who does not condemn white supremacy, I do not want your money. And I had no idea where it was going to go. But, a post of mine traditionally gets 100, 1,200 likes on Instagram. I think that got 6,000 or 9,000 likes. People, hey, I'm buying shirts for my family right now. Like, I didn't do it for marketing, and I definitely have, a few freaky people that are just like obsessed with, like bad people that are obsessed with me speaking up for my own customers, that are just, harassing me. But there's, to one person, there's, thousands of people. So yeah, I think you just have to, and it doesn't even, it has nothing to do if you're a Democrat or Republican or this or that. If someone does something bad, you just got to speak up. And that is not even a political thing. That is just, it's just being a decent human. And if you have people in your company that are affected, and you have people in your community or your family, like you got to stand up for them. You have to. It's not worth it to not say or do anything. And it has to be more than posting, a black square on a specific day. It's something that you should do forever and just be conscious of. But, I also feel cheated because I grew up reading history books that were written by white people that have left out so much history that I'm learning from comic book shows on Netflix, like everything that happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I feel sick to my stomach. And I just, I just feel like there's more that I can and should do. So that's what I have to say about that. But, we're trying to do stuff all the time behind the scenes, and then just when we can get our customers involved too. And we donate money. There's an organization in Boston called Strong Women, Strong Girls, Strong Women, or Strong Women, Strong Girls. And they they just help young girls become leaders and know what their worth is, and that's something that we strongly believe in. And but yeah, if any listeners have an organization that they believe in that lines up with our vision, feel free to reach out to us, because we're always looking to help where we can, because it makes this whole journey actually have meaning outside of business. It's what life is all about.
And ultimately, that is going to tie people together from a brand perspective, right? So one last question. If you were talking to vendors who are working through the channel and they had one thing they could do to help their partners, dealers, agents, by the way, 75% of the business goes through an indirect channel somewhere in the world, right? So whether it's in retail and whether it's tires or whether it's tech, where's a good place to start for getting their channel to think a little bit disruptive, to think a little bit, do something different?
Yeah.
What's like one piece of advice?
That's very interesting looking at this business model, because the entrepreneur in me is like, why the heck do these people have all these channels? Like, why can't they just build a team within and go direct to their customers and not worry about what this third party does or does not do right? But on the other hand, in my experience, because we've dabbled in some of this on a different scale, we have a program called Cake Dealers. We teach entrepreneurship and event planning to customers, and they set up pop-up shops for us, and we give them a percentage of what they sell. So it's so nice for me to be able to be a stay-at-home dad and know that there's X amount of people selling products to brand new people who would have never heard about the brand before. So the other part of me is like, I'm looking at it as a marketing team that doesn't get paid unless I get paid. And so then I'm like, all right, these channels are actually pretty good if you line it up the right way. You just have to make sure, we've really grown our interview process to make sure we have the right people. It's quality over quantity for us. I have somebody that leads all of the Cake Dealers, so they have weekly meetings. But the thing that I love the best is that they set up individual goals for individuals instead of, there are blanket numbers that people have to reach in order to get a prize or to hit this or that. But we are small, cozy, nimble, and we act as a big family, and we want to help people grow. So yeah, keeping it more personal, having video chats. You and I were chatting about this the other day, but there was one year where I was learning some of my clients and also some of my employees' favorite holiday memories from when they were kids. And I secretly wrote down on my phone, I have a section of my phone for surprises for people in my life. And I wrote them all down. And then months and months later, when the holidays came around, I spent sleepless nights on eBay buying these gifts. And some of my employees were nearly in tears. And again, it wasn't because, they always wanted this gift, but it was because they knew that I was listening at the end of the day. So you might think that your top performing employee or a top performing salesperson in this channel really would love an extra $5,000. But if you give them either an experience or you give them something that's so personalized, it might cost you a couple $100, and that memory it'll almost have $100,000 impact, because who else is going to do that for them? And they're looking at other companies too, because, my Cake Dealers could go sell products for anybody else. Why are they going to stick with me? And why are they going to try to outperform themselves each month? So we want to keep it personal. We want to listen to them. We want to know what charities and organizations they care about, so that we can also donate money and time and resources to those places. And sometimes that alone, speaking up for someone that helps you grow your business, is going to create so much loyalty, and it's just the right thing to do. So listening, unique gifts, just really making that feel like a family and less of a factory that churns out statistics and numbers. And you could still do that, but just give it a little bit more love, I would say, in my experience.
That's a great way to wrap it up. Give it a little bit more love. I like
Give it
that.
A little bit more love. Yeah.
I think that's great. Hey, Johnny, I really appreciate you taking some time with us. So what's the best way for people to get connected with you if they don't already know you? How can they reach Johnny Cupcakes?
Sure. JohnnyCupcakes.com is where you can reach me. We ship out T-shirts all over the place. And then on social media, everywhere, I'm at Johnny Cupcakes. Probably the most active on Instagram. On LinkedIn, my real name, which is not Johnny Cupcakes, is Johnny Earle, Earle. And if you learned anything today or took anything away, shoot me a message on there. Would love to hear from you. You know what? I'll also, if you want to do any type of giveaway for any listeners, I'm happy to give away a gift card, online gift card for the web store. So you let me know how you want to do it, and I'll set up a $50 code for one of the listeners, however you want to put that out there.
Oh, that's fantastic. So folks that are listening, as always, we ask you to provide feedback. You can reach us at Channel Edge at 360insights.com. Please feel free to reach out to us on that, and we'll do a drawing for that, Johnny. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
So folks, once again, Johnny, thank you for joining us. Folks, thank you for listening. Please feel free to share this. And we really appreciate everybody's time today. And everybody have a great day.
Thank you. Appreciate it, everybody.
Thanks for listening to Channel Edge, brought to you by 360 Insights, the channel success platform. Subscribe now on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and Google Play, and you'll always be the first to access new episodes where channel leaders share success strategies, best practices, and emerging trends. For bookings, feedback, questions, or comments, feel free to email us at channeledge@360insights.com.